Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Wes. We're talking flesh-eating subclasses in this video. So yeah, oops all monster hunters. If you saw my oops all gunslingers video, then you know I love running one-shots for new classes where everyone plays the same subclass, and it's honestly super inspired by the Dungeon Dudes What If Everyone Plays series. I don't know why I put a card up there. Everyone knows who the Dungeon Dudes are. If you watch my channel, I'm pretty sure you know who they are. Whether you like them or not, you know who they are. So then we're just gonna move on to, um, unlike my Oops All Gunslingers one shot with my Oops All Monster Hunters one shot, you can check out the Monster Hunters video I did where I go through their subclasses in class. Unlike that, I knew this was gonna possibly go into like a mini adventure, like a 4 to 5 session mini adventure, and we just finished session 2 of that mini adventure so far. And unlike my Gunslingers one shot where I had 3 players in 3 different subclasses, 2 of my players decided to play the same subclass. I made pre-made characters, right? And said the players can change anything they wanted about the pre-made characters. One of them decided to literally change their background and their subclass to exactly what another player had. And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. They're different species. They have different weapon masteries. And the Devourer, which is the subclass that they picked, has multiple options when they eat something that they, well, slain. And it's been pretty fun so far. After the initial one shot, okay, first, instead of the reward that they were gonna offer originally for the one shot, they decided to ask for like a player base instead. A place that they could use as a base of operations, a hangout, a hideout, whatever you want to call it. So I'm like, perfect. That made coming up with the rest of the mini adventure pretty easily. And I asked them all what's one thing that their characters would want to accomplish, or that they would want for their characters to accomplish before the end of the adventure. So one of them is like, I want to either discover like a super lost ancient magic item, or find some like crazy ancient ruins type place, like make a huge discovery. They are using the Augustine Trading Company. It's a Grim Hollow setting, by the way. Everything's Grim Hollow for, well, 90% of everything's Grim Hollow, or 75, 80%. I don't know actual percentage. I'm just making up numbers right now, okay? Majority is everything Grim Hollow, all right? Now, the other player, my dwarf, wants to, and kind of the face of the party, surprisingly, though they have like no charisma, they just talk the most. So I have to, hey, what do you want to do? What do you have to say about this all the time? Which is cool, which is fine. And it's just pretty funny how none of these are charisma based characters, and yet the same character I'm talking about tried to shake down an NPC during session 1, failed horribly, and instead got shaken down. This player's goal was to craft or find a magic item, and it's also like, I'm like, I don't know if they're doing it because they're playing a dwarf or if they just want that. I incorporate some items from Griffin's Saddlebag so far. In our second session, they found the Redsmith's hammer, and in this past session, just yesterday, they discovered, well, they didn't discover, they met someone who has Redsmith's Crucible set, or yeah, Redsmith's Crucible set, which is basically like a mini forge wherever you go. They didn't give it to the player. They said, however, they will let the player use it because they're also a dwarf. So this wasn't intentional. The other dwarf, that they were both dwarves. However, the NPC is just like, listen, you can't have it, but I'll let you use it because I just want to see whatever it is you're gonna make. But to use the hammer and the set, you kind of need one other thing, and that's the Coldfire Anvil, which all of these are found in Griffin's Saddlebags, and they honestly are so cool. There's like so many unique items, not just in Griffin's Saddlebags. There's like cool stuff in Obajima, like the Field Cauldron, which is like kind of what the Crucible set lets you do. Instead of a forge, it's for potion making though. So far, they have been gathering materials. They've been gathering monster parts, not just only to eat, but to craft with later on, and or make potions with. I also allowing the occultists to use certain monster bits as like enhancers to when they use spells. So like they just killed a Thunderboar yesterday because they were helping an NPC, and one of them rolled pretty low for survival. So they found 2 out of the 3 herbs they were supposed to collect, and a second set of one of them. And instead of finding the third, I decided, because they rolled so low, they actually didn't find it because they encountered a Thunderboar. After killing the Thunderboar, they harvested its tusk and some meat from it. I decided that the Thunderboar would be, if they ingest its meat, it counts as a beast, but if they use its horns or like chew on their horns, it counts as an elemental. For an occultist, if they decide to cast, it'll enhance any like lightning or thunder based spell. They actually do have Booming Blade, which I didn't think about and they didn't think about, thankfully. Because it's a mini adventure, it is pretty much use it or lose it. So I will remind them of that. I know they bought some poisons in our last like one shot, or in the original one shot, and haven't used yet. So because they failed to use them, some rats got in their bag, and unfortunately for the rats, they well, you know. Now moving on to our third monster hunter and second, technically they were the first devourer. Their goal for their character was to possibly end with a transformation and have the horrors of their backstory appear, or at least not horrors. I'm making it into horrors. This whole thing has been a horror campaign without it being a horror campaign. I might, actually, I think I should just end it the weekend of Halloween. That would extend it to, I think, a week. Yeah, if I made it to Halloween, that would extend it a week to make it 6 sessions in total of the mini adventure, not counting the original one shot. The session like a week ago, they cleared pretty fast. They ran through that pretty fast, but this one they were kind of like on the slower pace. I mean, combat did take a while because all 3 of them were frightened, because all of them failed their charisma save. Yes, fear-based charisma save from a creature from, I believe it was MCDM, or it might have even been a Grim Hollow creature itself. I'm not sure. Either way, charisma-based fear effect, and they all failed their charisma save, so they all had disadvantage attacking this creature that also had resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So it took about 5 rounds for them to kill it. That was just yesterday's fight. So they have a bit more. I have been trickling some of their wants throughout the adventure so far. Now, they started at level 4. Each of them had different feats, and the session before last they got to level 5, which unfortunately Monster Slayer Rangers do get extra attack at level 5, but Monster Hunters don't get extra attack until level 11. I don't feel bad for them. Well, I kind of do, but don't, because they do have the option to use a reaction to make attacks whenever them or an ally gets hit. So 2 of them have been using that pretty well. The third, the occultist, hasn't been getting into melee that much, except when deciding to use their Booming Blade. And yesterday, one of them has the topple mastery. Actually, the dwarf has the topple mastery, which sets up the occultist perfectly to hit with the Booming Blade, because I'm like, just them standing up is going to be burning, it's going to be using movement, which procs Booming Blade, and it's so good. So they have some teamwork options. 2 of them, because this is Grim Hollow setting, have firearms and have not been tracking ammunition. I know they haven't, and I have. Session 1 post one shot, right, where they discovered that, oh, there's no one in town who can make bullets or who just sells bullets outright. However, they can they did put in an order for some bullets. So depending how many long rests they take, if it's next session, they may run out of ammo, or they may just make it in time to purchase some of their ammunition. And because we just got to level 5, bastions are an option. They have taken in one NPC so far, who was a poison merchant. Actually, so if you're familiar with Fallout 4, and there's a diner with, I believe, a mother and son, or is it a sister and a brother? I forget, but no, I think it's a mother and son, where the son's basically selling stuff out front while the mom's selling stuff inside. Same concept. Ruined chapel that they got as a reward. The ruined chapel. Well, they met a ghost, relived its flashback, and discovered a secret. Well, it wasn't a secret. It was the original, like, underground crypts where the clergy of the church were buried. However, underneath that was a secret place, basically starting to fulfill the occultist wish of discovering something. So they've been going through so far, like, cataloging the ancient language, and have started to decipher it. They found sarcophagi with magical weapons, all of which had like a +1 longsword. And funniest thing, one of the characters goes, so I'm kind of in live morally gray zone and don't really care about grave robbing. 2 of you eat flesh after you kill something, and the other was kicked out of or is on the run from the Augustine Trading Company for doing some stuffs. So I think you all live in the morally gray zone. There's also an Inquisitor in town from the Augustine Empire, which, if you know anything about the Grim Hollow setting, or even 40k, these guys are like the CIA or KGB. You don't want to get involved with them, honestly, or you don't want them to get involved with you. More like is actually what I should say. They've been discovering certain things, materials that they can use to craft. They've been discovering, like, relic. The occultist, the only person they can sell them to is this person, or they can choose, because they are technically on the border of the Elven Empire. I forget what it's called in Grim Hollow. I'm drawing a blank right now, but they are an elf, so they could take it back to their original, like, they could go back to the Elven Kingdom with these artifacts. Not actual artifacts like powerful magical items artifacts, but just like relics of the past artifacts. So they have a decision to make with that, whether they want to sell these things or if they want to, like, you know, get some notoriety. However, that notoriety may put a target on their back. Who knows, you know? One fun thing that happened is, because 3 monster hunters are taking refuge in a town and set up a base, we haven't quite gotten to their, like, what they want as their personal bastions yet, but people have started to talk that they're possibly starting their own guild, which will lead to some interesting stuff in the future as well. And I'm pretty sure they're all going to end up getting a free feat, probably at the end of next session, depending how far they get. And one of them is going to have, like, some things happen, and possibly the starts of a transformation happening. Oh, yeah, like I mentioned, use it or lose it. One of the cool things that I love to do in my campaigns is have, when the players show up on time, they each get to draw from the Deck of Wonders, and that lasts for the session. So one of them had a boost of HP this past session. The other one vanished in a demiplane for 3 minutes. Those are just some examples of drawing from the Deck of Wonders. Not always good, but not really the worst thing that happens. It's not like when you draw the Void card and you're just gone from the deck of many things. Those are like an always bonus, but I'm thinking, depending what they do in the next session, depends on feats that they may get for free. You guys know me, I love giving out free feats. You guys might think, some of you DMs might say, that's a little overpowered, D&D is not designed for that, and you'd be right. However, when I give out a free feat, if it has like a ASI attached to it, an ability score, you get the feat, but you do not get that ability score. Unless they kind of need the boost. Like right now, they all have -8 charisma, and them going to like a -9 isn't going to impact anything crazily. Same thing, having like a dexterity of 12 and going to 13 isn't going to do anything crazy for them either. So there's some feats where I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's that. And I guess if you've made it this far in the video, comment Roan Chapel down below, or we're all morally gray. Anyway, thank you for joining me. My name's been Wes. Where's the fun? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.